Hi, I wanted to share with you a bit about my personal story, about the huge shift that happened for me when I started working with the Akashic Records, when I started learning and working with the Akashic Records. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about sharing this with people and teaching people so as they can just pay it forward, really, just assist people through this amazing modality. Hi Siobhan, lovely to see you here. So I wanted to remember some of the main points, so I got my notes here. So it was 5 years ago when I went from doing really unfulfilling work to connecting with my soul's purpose and really stepping into my true work. I knew I was a healer from like age 16. I knew I was a healer. I'd studied so many modalities, and I'd had hi John, lovely to see you here. I knew I was a healer. I'd studied so many modalities, and yet I wasn't stepping into really doing my work. There was a difference. There was a shift that happened when I started reading the Akashic Records and working with the Akashic Records. It was a shift that I connected with my soul. I connected with my purpose, with who I was. That was the shift. Because before that, I knew I was a healer, but it didn't have that energy. It didn't have that energy of my soul that really connected me with that passion and that drive. That's what it takes, quite honestly, to really step into doing your work. And I see so many people in that place. I see so many people in that place of, I'm a healer and I'm intuitive. They know they have gifts. There's something they're here to do, but they're not really stepping into it. They're not stepping into it because, in my opinion, one of the reasons is because they don't have that really strong connection with their purpose, with their soul. And that's what it takes, because it's challenging to step into really doing your work. It's joyful, it's beautiful, and it's challenging too. Your stuff comes up, your fears, your doubts, everything comes up, because there's a big energy to doing your purpose, and life's not one-sided. So while there's so much support and opportunity and possibility and opening as you start doing your purpose, on the other side there's resistance, there's doubt, there's fears, there's all of that too. So it's connecting with your soul, really connecting with your purpose, having that energy flow from the soul, and that connection with who you are. And that's what happened for me when I started working with and reading the Akashic Records. It's a hard thing to articulate and put into words. I'll share a bit of my story. So before that, I was working an unfulfilling job. I had excuses. It was too hard. It was not the time. I had to wait till my children grew up. I had to earn money so it was possible for me. I had to study yet another healing modality. I studied so many healing modalities. The truth is that I just wasn't connected enough to really, when you're really connected, there's a passion there, there's a drive. It's different, it's a shift. So that's one of the things that happened for me with starting to work with the Akashic Records. The connection was much stronger. That flow of energy from my soul was much stronger. And the reasons that came up, the obstacles, the challenges, the feeling I'm not ready, the feeling this is too hard, I don't know how to do that, all that stuff that comes up, it's less important, because when you have that, it doesn't stop me. That still comes up. And 5 years it is now since I started working with the Akashic Records, and it was what for me created the shift from just, giving things a bit of a try, working in unfulfilling jobs while I studied endlessly studied and didn't step in and really do my work. I didn't really know what I was here to do. I wasn't really connected with that energy. It's, you know, knowing that I was a healer wasn't enough. It was really getting more specific, and the Akashic Records has helped me with that, getting more specific, and it's refined and refined more. And for me, part of my purpose that's really important is assisting people to awaken their gifts and to remember who they are, and to really tap into that energy of their soul that wants to come through and express itself. And what I found is there's often blocks to that. That's that place, that really authentic expression can feel a bit of an uncomfortable place, because we've learnt to cover that over. We've learned it's a survival thing. We've learned to block that up, block that off, and not express that truth of who we are. And that's what we're here to express. That's that truth of who we are and that often there can be a sense of vulnerability or uncomfortability with that, because we've shut that down for so long. And so as we step into that, it's a feeling of something we know so well, yet it's stepping into the unknown. You know, we're living from spirit, not from, you know, as we step into our true work, we're living from that spirit, from that inspiration, from that place, not from the ego's control. And that's the shift it helps to make. The Akasha, working in the Akasha, helps to make that shift from having to know how, you know, what it looks like for the next 5 years, your path in front of you. On the path of spirit, we don't, it's not all mapped out like that. It's unfolding, and there's trust in that. And it's working in that energy, that Akashic energy, that higher vibration for me that helped me really shift. And it's still helping me shift. It really fast tracks moving through that stuckness, moving through what's stopping us, and really stepping into what you're here to do. And I believe it's so important. There's such a sadness, and I've seen this so often, there's such a sadness, and really can be almost despair for our soul that we're not doing what we're here to do. We're not doing that real work. And sometimes we don't know what that is. You know, we don't mentally know what that is. We know there's something. It can just be a sense of dissatisfaction, of frustration, of boredom. And if it goes on for long enough, it can become when we push that down for long enough, it can become a real deadness, because we're blocking off our soul. We're blocking off what we're here to do. And it's very painful to do that. Yet it's what we've learned. So it's working with the Akashic Records and that energy that shifted that for me. It also, really key thing is it shifts around empowerment. Again, everyone's journey is different, but for me this was key, because I've seen this a lot with every person that I've worked with, a shift in empowerment, a shift, because when we connect with that divine energy from our soul's divine energy, it's empowering. It's, you know, we're not so identified. When we're more connected with that, we're less identified with the ego and the personality, which is useful and necessary for us living here on the planet. We need that to function. But at the same time, that creates endless limitations and sense of what's possible for us. And it's our soul that really, the more we tap into that, opens us. There's a sense of expansion, there's a sense of freedom, there's a sense of joy. Life really opens up with that energy. So, you know, that's, again, it's an experience, something, you know, I'm doing my best to put into words and articulate something that's intangible, that's energetic. People that work in this area will probably have a sense of what I'm talking about and have experienced some of that. You know, of course, we've all experienced some of that when we feel really connected with our soul and just, you know, we get it. We get who we are and what we're here for. We have moments like that. Yet to have that connection, to strengthen that connection, to clear the blocks and have that flow really happening is, I believe, key, because doing our purpose is, you know, as I said, for me, it's been one of the greatest joys and greatest challenges, and it's that strong connection with who we are and our purpose that will support us. Because without that, I think it's so much easier to just stay in our comfort zone, to stay in the dissatisfying job, to stay in, you know, doing what we know, to stay, you know, in that place where we know how, where we have control, where there's little growth. And, you know, that deadness and, you know, just sameness goes on. And, you know, we can find so many reasons to do that. It's so easy to find excuses and reasons. So it's the energy of the Akasha I found. Of course, there's lots of other ways. This is what created the shift for me. So that's why I'm sharing about that. And I've seen, you know, one of my ways of connecting with people is through my free soul gift session, where I talk about what, you know, I open the Akashic records and I talk about what, you know, your main soul energy are and how your soul most naturally expresses itself. That's a starting point. That's where I start with people, and I see every time that alignment comes into place, that, you know, something shifts, and that, you know, working in the Akashic energy, just connecting with that, what's most natural expression of your soul and how you're here to express what you're here to do. As we start to get that and that connection comes through, that's the first step. So if you'd like to have one of those conversations with me, and, you know, that's the first point. That's my first touching point with people, to, you know, assist you to explore, you know, what you're here to do, get more connected with that. And, you know, I offer that as a way to give people experience of what I do, and also because that's my purpose of assisting, you know, that's part of my purpose, assisting people to really open up to their soul gifts, to connect with their purpose. I'm so passionate about that. It makes me so happy when people just get it, and it's just the greatest joy for me. However that happens, when I see people just make a shift and get it and make those movements and start, you know, that shift toward doing that. I love that. That just nourishes my heart so much. So you're welcome to PM me. I'll put a link to my website also. That's another way you can connect with me below the video. And, you know, if you want to know more about the Akashic Records, you're welcome to join my group, Activate and Evolve Your Intuition with the Akashic Records. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my live, and I hope you got something out of that, that speaks to you and assists you on your journey. Thank you so much.